Welcome back to Chesticles. Hey ballers, how are you? I just wanted to pop in quick and say hello, let you know what a great weekend I had. I had lots of fun things happen. My sister's birthday was mid-April, so for her birthday I took her to see Matt Rife, who is very funny. And luckily we got really good seats, and we were close to the front. And in typical Matt Rife form, he was, I have these cowboy boots that are like short cowboy boots, but they're all sparkles. They're if you ever heard of Betsy Johnson, she does very unusual, sparkly, I love Betsy Johnson. She's just like really wild stuff. Well, they were her boots. So I had them on, and Matt Rife's let me see those boots. So I didn't know what he meant. So I just lifted my leg up, and he looked at me really? So I unzipped it and I handed it to him. And he goes, "These might be the most white trash thing I've ever seen in my life." Oh my gosh, it was so funny. So anyway, he gave it back to me. It was a good show. And then beforehand, we had dinner at a place called Osteria, which is in Philadelphia, and that was lovely, delicious dinner. So all in all, we had a really, really great time, and lots of laughs and lots of giggles, and just like I told you, my two sisters are my best friends, and they're just awesome. So this was spending time with one of them. And then Sunday night, I went to see a Queen cover band at the Keswick Theater in Glenside, and boy, were they good. I mean, this guy, you would think he, it's not so much that he looks like him, but he acts like him. He does the moves. He's just, the outfits and, and his voice, he's really good. He's actually Scottish. But that was a really, really, really fun show. So I'm getting out and out more and more, as much as I can. One day of going out and having fun, I have to rest for a little bit. But definitely enjoying getting out. And the weather's been so beautiful. Just, welcome May. It's just been beautiful here in the Philadelphia area. I'm really happy about that. But I was also thinking about telling you guys about jobs that I that I quit and got fired from. A couple episodes ago, I mentioned that I had some stories to tell you. So I was thinking of one the other day, and I'm like, I have to tell my ballers this one. Well, there's a couple of them, okay? I have to tell you that none of these were for, anything that I did wrong. It was usually because I said something I shouldn't have said, or because I quit. One in particular, and I know everyone hearing this can completely identify. I had this office manager, and she was just not a nice person. She was just always pissed off, always overwhelmed, always grumpy, just one of those people. And in the morning, we would have these chart reviews. So the whole group, it was a big office, and the whole group, we would meet down in the small little kitchen area that we had, and we review our charts. This was before digital. I mean, we kind of did have digital, but we were using both. But anyway, and one morning in particular, she was just a bear. I mean, just starts the day off rah, 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 and just gives you knots in your stomach. Nobody wants to start their day off like that. But we get through the day, and the boss is there, and he's witnessing all this, but he just lets her get away with it, because I don't know why anyone thinks that managing that way works, because it just doesn't. So me, the big mouth chesticles, brass balls, at the very end of the meeting said, "Okay, everyone, well, I hope everyone has a nice day today." And she says, "What's that supposed to mean?" I said, "Well, I hope everybody has a nice day." I said, "That meeting was awful. You were so grumpy, and I just want everybody to have a nice day. We had a 12-hour day ahead of us." Dentistry it can be grueling. Don't get me wrong. I did it for over 40, almost 45 years. I loved so much of it. I really did, but it can be grueling. And she goes, well, I think that was very disrespectful what you just said. And I said, I wasn't being disrespectful. I was just trying to cheer up the crowd that you were just so rude to. And she goes, well, I think that's disrespectful. And I said, well, I think you acted like a real bitch. Now, that's not nice. I know, I was wrong. But it was true. And I said it to her, and she's like, oh, and then she got all perplexed. Well, then I had to go because my patients were there, and I had to get my day started. So then the doctor calls me into the office, and he said, did you call her? I guess he must have walked away. Did you call her a bitch? And I said, I think I said she was acting like a bitch or behaving like a bitch or was, but okay, pretty much, yeah, I called her a bitch. And he shook his head because he knows. And he's like, all right, well, now she wants me to fire you. I said, I understand. I completely understand. But I mean, honestly, if you think that her way of managing is, and this was way before I was a manager, I was still a clinician at this point. It works. I mean, she's just grumpy and crabby. And he's like, all right, look, let me think about this because I have to figure out, because she's now saying that if I don't fire you, she's going to quit. I said, do whatever you have to do. I'll find another job. I really wasn't that worried about it. And plus, to be honest with you, who wants to work like that? In the morning, it's like you're just getting your day started. You have like a handful of charts in your hand. You have all these patients. You have to review everyone, check their medical histories, check and make sure everything's up to date. It's a lot of work. And to be shouted at and screamed at and she was just miserable. And the whole vibe in the room is just like everybody's like, you could tell everybody's got knots on their stomach. So, of course, made the, chesticles over here. I'm the one who called her out on it. So he waited. I mean, I worked the rest of the day and I think the next day, and then I think it was the weekend. And then he called me Sunday and he said, it's best if, I fire you because otherwise she's going to leave and then I won't have, I said, it's fine. I left on good terms with him, but it's funny because he wasn't even mad at me. Like when he asked me, he wasn't like saying, did you really do that? Like, how dare you do that? Because I'm sure I'm not the first person that has said it to him, but I'm probably the first person who said it to her face. So that was one time. So I got fired for that one. I don't consider that performance. I consider that being a smart mouth and just calling somebody out when I shouldn't have. But anyway, and he did struggle because he really liked my work and everything. And it was a really hard job there. We worked, I did orthodontics and I also did fillings, and it was 2 floors. So I was running up and down. Like, it was a lot of work. Anyway, that job was over. Another time, I'm working for another grumpy Gus. We didn't have an office manager, but he kind of was the office manager. But it was a smaller practice, and we really didn't need an office manager. Everybody, if you needed something, who to go to that kind of was in charge of that thing. So it was fine. And he just loved me because I have the ability to not be afraid to ask for money. So if I figure out someone's insurance and their deductible and this and that, how much money is it going to be? The woman I worked with was 1,000,000 times better than me at that because she could figure it out so much faster than I could. She was a whiz. But I would just round off, and I would always I'd rather overestimate than underestimate because it's easier to give them a check back for $25 because the insurance companies don't tell you how much they're going to pay until you have an idea, but then they have to approve it. And years ago, we used to do this thing called a prior authorization, which I know they still do in some dental offices. But what we found out is that is really just a game of putting it off because sometimes you can wait 6 weeks for these prior authorizations. And, by that time, the patient could lose the tooth. So we were always like, if you need it, you need it. If you don't, you don't, And sometimes we'll say this one might in the future. Let's, just be careful with it. But it's a big filling in there. Just be careful. And personally, I did lose a tooth in the back because I needed a crown on it and I kept putting it off. You know, they say the shoemaker's kids never wear any shoes. It's the same thing. Like I just never got a chance to get in the chair or whatever. And my tooth broke, and it broke vertically. And when your tooth breaks vertically all the way down, they can't save it. So I had to have the tooth out. So I'm like so empathetic for these people with these broken teeth. I'm like, listen, it happened to me. If it could happen to me, it could happen to anyone, because I take impeccable care of my teeth. Anyway, this particular doctor, who will remain nameless, asked me to do something shady with the insurance. He had done a root canal on a patient, and it was December. Well, her benefits didn't like you use your benefits for the year. Some people go June to June. Some people go, well, hers were January to January. So she didn't have enough benefits to cover that root canal. So she was scheduled to not have it finished. She was scheduled to have it started, come back in January, have it finished, and the insurance pays after it's done. That's what you do. That's the law. I don't write the laws. I just, but we started to get her out of pain. Well, I guess since he had extra time, he decided to finish it that day. So he came up to me and he said, I want you to hold that claim and send it in January, as if we did the root canal in January. And I said, I can't do that. That's insurance fraud. He's like, it's fine. Just do it. It's only a month. Just do it. Now, I've been to multiple classes on ethics in dentistry and insurance in dentistry, and there is no way, shape, or form, upside down, inside out way that you can do this. It's just wrong. It is illegal. It's insurance fraud, which, by the way, insurance fraud is a felony, in case you ever wondered. And, I don't think I'm going to look good in silver handcuffs. And they always take the person down that did it. Whenever you read the stories about these, usually they're office managers that they do insurance fraud with the doctor, and they're all in on it, and they take a piece of it, and I want no parts of that. So I told him I would not do that. And he said, you will do it because I told you to do it. I said, it is insurance fraud. It is illegal. I am not doing that. And he goes, well, then she's going to have to pay. I said, well, she can pay it out over a year. Like, we can figure something out for her. But, I'm not doing that. Not to mention, when you send the x-ray, it has the date on it already. So, you're going to get caught. Don't even think you're smart enough to, I guess you could take an x-ray the following week. But, look, I'm not into having any trouble. It's hard enough working with these insurance companies and patients and them understanding. And it's just a lot. And so I refused to do it. He goes, listen to me. I am your boss, and you will do what I say. I said, I'm telling you I'm not doing it. And he said, I am your boss. And I go, not anymore. And I picked up my sweater, and I picked up my handbag, and I walked out the door, and I never went back. Now, like I said, it was December. So I was 3 days away from getting my big bonus, which our bonuses were always very good there. So I knew I was left that on the table. It was a Christmas bonus. Plus we were going to some Christmas party that he was having, which I wanted to go because I love the girls that I worked with. I'm still friendly with them. They're lovely people. 2 of them left, or 3 of them actually left after I did anyway. And the last I heard, he sold his practice, but they were 2 of the times. One of the time that was completely 100% my fault was that I was 18 and I worked for the nicest guy in the whole wide world. He taught me so much. But I could not get to work on time. I could not wake up. I'd set 3 alarms and I would sleep through all of them. Now, I don't know why, because I didn't have to be in until 10 o'clock. And then they'd call me to wake me up, and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll be right on my... And I'd fall back asleep again. Oh my God, it's so humiliating. I cannot believe that. And it happened for 2.5 years. Not every day, but way more than it should have. And it was just wrong. And so after 2.5 years, imagine the morale, the rest of the staff. That's not fair for somebody to constantly be late. It really isn't. And I'm such a different person now that it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. So eventually he did have to fire me, which I gave him a big hug. I thanked him. I mean, it wasn't his fault. What could he do? You know, I mean, if you can't get out of bed and get to work, you can't have the job. I mean, he gave me 2.5 years I worked there, and he was a wonderful guy. But yeah, those are some of the stories I have dealt with. You'd be surprised at the craziness that goes on in the dental world, because you see, like most medical offices, they're run by the hospitals, so they're like more corporate run. So there's rules that you have an HR department and you have rules to follow, and most dentist offices are self-owned, or one doctor might own 2 or 3 practices, but he runs it. But there's no HR department. There's no rules and regulation. Like, it's like the wild, wild west. Not all of them, not saying all of them. There's plenty of good ones out there. But a lot of them are shisty. And, just all about the money, don't care about the patient. And so there have been offices like that I've just walked out of. Just, I can't do that. I'm happy to collect the amount of money that's due for the patient. I'm proud to collect that money for what's due, but I'll be darned if I'm just going to lie to people and tell them they need this, that, and the other thing. And no, I'm not a doctor, but I also am not an idiot. And I can tell when I look at an x-ray if the doctor's, fudging. And that's what would happen a lot. I worked for this one woman, and every little filling she did turned into like a huge filling so she could get more, because the insurance companies pay per surface. So if you have a teeny tiny little filling on the top of your tooth, all of a sudden it became the top, the sides, the front, the back. I mean, and that gets her more money, which is wrong. Then I worked with another doctor, and what she would do is she would do the regular filling, the one surface, but she would mark it down as if it was more surfaces so she could get paid. That was at a corporate practice. So yeah, there's lots of that going on out there. It's just pathetic. It saddens me. A lot of these big dental corporations, they do not care one bit. It's just sad. It really is sad. And I've worked for a couple to see that they really don't care at all about their patients. But when I interview with them, patients are first. I'm like, well, good, because that's the most important thing to me. People don't want to be walking in the dental office anyway most of the time. So I really do genuinely care about them, and I want them to get the best treatment. And then there's just people that don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, I'm like, how the heck did you graduate dental school? You're just like, whew. So I switched around quite a bit. And with that, I learned a lot, though, because every office teaches you something different, right? Because everybody has different experiences. Everybody has seen different patients. So it really, really helped me tremendously in my career. So I don't regret any of it. And I never went without a job when I wanted a job. I actually worked at one place for 14 years as a part-time, like Saturday and Tuesday person, and then I would also do I would fill in if somebody was on vacation. And they offered me full-time, but both times when they offered it, I just couldn't, my kids were too little. I wasn't ready to do full-time at that point or whatever. But that was a great office. They really did care about the patients, and I was able to stay there that long because I respected them, and I respected the quality of the work and the, just being nice and caring and being skilled. But I just wanted to share some of those funny little tidbits with you today. So had a great weekend. Still flying high off my Tim McGraw concert I told you about in my previous episode. And I'm glad you guys are still following, still listening. I think I hit 6 countries. Now I'm on Patreon and Substack and all these things. I'm not monetizing at all. So I don't know. They keep sending me this stuff, but I love it. I love all your feedback. I love your opinions. I love your questions. Keep it coming. I appreciate it. All right, ballers, you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.